Also this weekend, Daytona 500. I'm going to Daytona. I know the weather doesn't look all that great, guys, but if the weather looks like we might race Saturday, I'm flying up Saturday morning. I'm going to go on Marty and McGee around 9 a.m., 9:30. And so, that literally just happened with a conversation
You made
last
that
week.
plan.
Yeah,
with Marty.
Isn't that fun?
Happened on the show.
In this day and age where you got to check with this person or sign this agreement or get my people will get with your people, it's fun when you can just say, hey, how about I come over and let's do the thing. I love doing business that way. So, yeah, Marty McGee Saturday morning from 9:30 to 10. They'll be at Daytona from doing their show, I think, from 7 to 10 or 8 to 10. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully we get to see Junior Motorsports get the win. Then I'm coming home to watch the Daytona 500 from my couch. One of the great things about this particular year is that it's the 10th and the 20th anniversary of my 2 Daytona 500 wins from 2014 and 2004. Been doing a few articles, did one with Jordan Bianchi, but doing a few things with the media around those races, reliving them, talking about them. Just maybe a year ago or so, I uploaded all the in-car. I had an in-car video from that race that I uploaded. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's uploaded that in-car footage from that race onto YouTube. But the reason why I did that is because that showcases my favorite memory from that 2004 race. In the in-car from that race, they have some very basic telemetry, throttle, and you get to kind of see, and it's a percentage. It's a bar of throttle graph, but it's also got a percentage to it. But you get to see, as we're driving around the old Daytona that's worn out, slick, you can see us using the gas. And now we're lifting and coming off the throttle because of the car is sliding, right, and sliding the back or the nose. But I'm also trying to time runs. And so, this is a lesson that I share with any driver that I talk to about restrictor plate racing. And I believe that it still applies today with the current car. If you're driving around the Daytona International Speedway, the most vulnerable moment for the car is exiting the turn, right? You flew down the straightaway holding the wheel straight, and the car's building up speed, and then you go into the corner and you turn the wheel. Turning the wheel is going to scrub speed off, and loading the car into the banking also sort of knocks speed out of the car. And as it goes around this corner, it's continuing to bring the speed down just ever so slightly. And coming up off the corner, that's when the car is literally scrubbing the most speed or has scrubbed the most speed and you're starting just before you're about to unwind the wheel for the straightaway. So that's where the car is the most vulnerable to a pass, to side drafting. And so I wanted to time my run so that I caught Tony Stewart, who's leading the race, on the corner exit. And I really didn't know, as good as I think I am at plate racing, I really didn't know when to start that run. All right, I need to back up to get the run, but how far do I back up, and when do I start charging back toward him so that when we exit a corner, I'm right on him? And so I kept doing this, and you can watch the throttle from the in-car of me trying to time it. And I try and fail. I'm running up on him at the wrong place. I'm catching him at the end of the straightaway. I'm catching him in the tri-oval. I'm catching him in the wrong places. Or I created no run at all, right? And so eventually one works. I'm starting to lose a little bit of confidence, but I'm gonna keep trying. 20 laps to go. What else I got to do, right? It's me, Tony Stewart, and Kurt Busch. Now, Kurt's not helping me. We've talked about this a million times, but Kurt's mad because I bumped into him in the middle part of the race and flattened his left rear tire. He lost a lap, and he's a lap down and stayed a lap down the entire day. And he comes on the radio, or Tony Jr. tells me on the radio, the 97 is not going to help you. All right, so you're going to have to figure this out on your own. And but finally, I timed it where I run up on Tony exiting turn 4. So I'm going 5 or 10 mile an hour faster as I approach his car, and he's bogged down off turn 4. and the camera switches from one view to the next right as we have this sort of duel, this dodge. Like I went left and he blocked it, and I went right. Well, the camera doesn't really catch all of that, and the next time you see us, I'm to his outside, and we're coming into the trioval. Or I'm to his inside, I'm sorry. And so you don't really see this sort of, dodginess that we had happening. But I had the run, and I couldn't lift, and I've timed it perfect, and I've got to get to his side, left or right. I get to the inside, and now we do a little side drafting. But either way, I don't clear him. I don't have enough momentum to go by him, but I've gotten beside him. And so now I got to start a new plan, right? Okay, we've achieved the goal of getting here and up beside Tony. Because, man, it was impossible to drive by him or up beside him without creating that run. You couldn't do it. The cars were too equal. He could have just sit there about 2 car lengths in front of me the entire rest of the race and not had any problem holding me off. But finally I'm beside him, and I'm like, okay, now what? Now what do we need to do to finish this pass? I'm not going to get help from the 97, and he's actually going behind Tony. And I'm getting worried because if he gets really close, he'll push Tony right back by me. And then maybe he even gets beside me, and now I'm stuck beside him. He might wedge himself between me and Tony, and the race is over. But anyhow, we're going around, we're going down the front straightaway into turn 1, and Tony's up the racetrack, and I'm around the bottom. And I'm trying to drop back to his quarter panel to start a side draft. And as soon as I get back to his quarter panel, I'm going to go up there and side draft him and try to slingshot past him. That's all I could do. And luckily, when we come off of turn 2, Tony has me cleared. He's got me cleared by about 2 inches. If he pulled down in front of me, we wouldn't have hit. He would have been shoved back out into the lead and probably won the race. But I got right to his quarter panel, and again, I'm 2 inches, probably 2 inches behind him, but I'm still offset to the left, trying to sniff a side draft. And I don't know if it's going to work because I'm not close enough forward, right, to actually be anywhere beside his car. But it was a tiny, tiny hint of side draft happening, and it starts pulling me up by him, and I'm getting close. I'm getting further up beside him, and so the side draft work. The air coming off of Tony's car is like the wake of a boat. He's cutting the air with the nose of his car, and it comes off. It's shaped like a V, right? It doesn't wrap around and go down the sides tight against his car. It's the wake of a boat, but it's at the front of Tony's car, not at the back, okay? So there's this big V, and so inside that V, kind of tucked up beside Tony's left side door, is a pocket where the air is less dense, and that's how the side draft works. I'm driving my car up into this gap where there's really no resistance, no air, and so the closer I get to Tony, and you'll see this today, how they get really, really tight. The tighter you can get to that car, the more pronounced, the more profound the side draft will be. And we actually bump. And we have a little touch. It knocked a little bit of speed out of his car, which is helpful. It might have settled him down a half a mile an hour or something like that. But it allowed the side draft was just perfect. And I sprung away from him because you got to kind of jump that wake if you were going to ski behind a boat. You got to jump the wake so that I can get away from Tony and his side draft, right? Because if I just stayed beside him and went forward, he would then begin side drafting me, and he goes right back by, and we just could sit there and do that over and over. But I get away from him once I know that I think I got all the momentum I can create with the side draft. I get away, and I'll never know why. But he could have chased me down the track and tried to side draft my quarter panel, but he didn't. I don't know why. He just watched me go by. And I clear off into 3, and I'm like, wow. I'm in the lead. I'm like blown away. And so I love watching that sequence of probably 20 to 40 laps there where I'm messing with the throttle and trying to figure out how to make a run out of nothing, right, without another car helping me or anything. And I didn't think it was even possible for my car to do that. But me and Tony had the 2 strongest cars. Mine was a little bit better, and as soon as I got the lead, I knew that he was never going to have a shot.
You could
put a run on us. Yeah. 4 or 5 laps to go, I'm listening to our car and all these little sounds and things and freaking out, thinking their yellow's going to come out. Somebody's going to wreck. Somebody's going to get impatient and stupid, trying to go for a spot late in the race, and we're going to have a yellow and have to race it out. But it didn't work that way. We ended up crossing the finish line, winning the race. I stopped on the front straightaway. The reason why is because if you go straight to victory lane, you could do some donuts like Dad did, all that stuff. But if you go to victory lane, man, they kind of have you in their control. Victory lane is a process. It's a script. The hat dance, take this picture, get out, do the interview, all those things, right? You don't get out of the car and just do what you want to do, right? I mean, you can, but they're going to grab you by the collar and say, come over here and do this interview, all right? It's live television. And so I pulled on the front straightaway because I'm like, I need to do my thing for a minute. I got all this elation, and it's like a cork.
Yeah.
And it's like a champagne bottle about to explode, and I got to relieve this elation. And so that was great. I was looking at the pictures of that yesterday. And so just coming out of the car and all the guys running out there, Jay Gennari and all the team from the Bud Days, and then you finally get have to have that moment to yourself, and then you go to victory lane, right? Then you do that, and you do it all. And victory lane's still a celebration. I mean, it is fun, of course it is, but it's nice to do this little thing with your team on your own that's not on the script.
Yeah.
2014. We've told that story a million times, but the big rain delay.
That was my first day on the job, was that race. And I remember that rain delay was 8 hours or something like that?
6, I think. But the weird thing is that every time you get in a race car, you have a different attitude, a different mentality. I rarely got in the car feeling exactly the same as last week. Your motivation, your expectations, it's a moving target. It's very dynamic, all over the place. I got in the car for the start of that race, not in the correct mindset to win it. It was I don't know what happened in that break, but without the break, I don't think we win that race. We had the break, and something during that break was
mentally,
we're gonna. I'm ready to get this thing going. Let's get out there and let's get it going. And so, if you look at the race and watch it, I raced both of those 2 parts differently.
Yeah.
And in the first half of the race, I couldn't figure out how to move forward, and I was getting very frustrated, and I was losing confidence in me or the car and us together, me and the car. It was not good. But then we had this long break, and you just kind of – it's long enough that you forget about all of the things that have knocked your confidence down. You forget about the struggle the car was having or you were having with the car. And it's a new race. It's a new moment. And the track's changed. It's been cleaned off. It's night now. It's late. And now all the other drivers' mentality is different. I always felt like when we ran night races or had delays or anything, it was an advantage for me. Mentally, because I knew how easy it was to check out
at a racetrack.
Yeah, especially the races that get pushed to Monday.
Yeah,
dude, if you go down on the grid for the pre-race and the driver's announcements and stuff on a typical Sunday, and then compare that to a rain-out Monday race,
it's completely different.
The energy is not the same.
Yeah,
and it's the drivers, and you can tell some of them are like, "I'm ready to go home."
Right.
Hell with this. And you can see that some of them just aren't there to kick ass. And I always thought, here's my advantage. I'm going to try to stay in kick-ass mode. And, man, maybe that's going to give me even a better opportunity, right, today. Whether that was real or not, I don't know. But, I think when we had that break, a lot of people checked out. And, I thought, man, I'm gonna stay plugged in. And when the key moment of that race for me, there's a little segment with like 40 to 60 laps to go where Greg Biffle and me are racing side by side, and we had a hell of a battle for the lead. And I might have lost it and ended up having to try to get it back, but I had to squeeze him against the wall. And going through when I think about the 2014 race, I'd go right to that moment.
Wasn't that around the time where you guys weren't sure if rain was going to cut this thing short too?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember racing for the rain?
I don't, but I remember driving like a complete jerk, and selfishly, right? Not like hitting and bumping and cutting and blocking, not that way. I'm saying, like, you know what? Typically, if you got 5 guys on the outside of me and y'all are organized, I'm not going to argue and side draft you, and I'm not, you're going by, okay? And I'll get back to 5th, or I'll try to stay in 3rd or 4th, and then a few laps later maybe get my run and try to get back to the lead. I didn't do it that way in the second half of that 2014 Daytona 500. Man, when the 16 Biffle got to my outside trying to take the lead from me, I squeezed him up against the wall, and it really so I could hold him in position. Even with Jimmy or somebody behind him or somebody trying to push him by, I could, if I squeezed him up against the wall, something about the air, our cars fighting for the same cow air, and something about, I don't know what it was, but I just knew that if I gave him a car length or half a car length, he could get pushed right through. But if I squeezed him and he had like a couple inches between him and the wall, and there another couple inches between me and him, it held him in position. It would stop his car. And even the guy pushing him was nervous to push him because he's like, they could crash. I could hit. He could hit me in the right rear quarter panel, right? So that kind of bottles him up and knocks him off his game. And they eventually get pushed back by me, but it was allowing me to like kind of at least maintain some track position, not get shuffled back too far. And then I was able to get right back by. But I just remember like racing very selfishly, and that's, it's not my character, I don't think. I wouldn't categorize myself as somebody who's constantly selfish. But in those moments, to win the Daytona 500 or win at Talladega, the more selfish you can be, the better.
Yeah.
Yes. So we got 2 lessons in today's class, right? All right. Being super selfish. Notes. Yeah. You being super selfish is one, and then trying to time the runs so that you catch them in the most vulnerable position is another one.